You're all
yeah,
about love and to our
yeah,
listeners and our viewers, so I could
yeah,
see that going in that right
yeah.
direction, correct, right?
Yeah, I sometimes have people go, "Oh, why, put love into one day a year?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't put it into one day a year, but I don't know. I
Well,
kind of like the
it's
whole idea."
yeah, and I've said it every year and I will continue. There are 365 usable days a year to spread the love. And that's
Yeah,
what you do. So we can
yeah.
continue that tradition on.
Thank
Right?
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to everybody listening, I hope you received some of that this morning and you have a I don't know, maybe it brightens it up. It's a little cloudy here in Seattle, but who knows?
Mhm.
Well, the
That's okay.
sun's
We can
always
just
up there.
push it all the way with all the love we
Push it
have,
all the
right?
way. That's right.
Bingo.
Anyway, I am the owner of Reiki Oasis, located right here in the greater Seattle area for the last 28, 29 years. And you can find out more about me at ReikiOasis.com. I do have Reiki classes coming up. I have a lot of people telling me that they feel that their hearts are being activated, something's going on, they're being called to their higher destinies. And Reiki 1 is a great place to start. Anybody can study Reiki, anybody can do it. And this coming Saturday, February 11th, I do have a Reiki 1 training workshop. It's for everybody. You don't even need to know what Reiki is to come on out. And you can sign up at schedule.reikioasis.com. And also, Reiki 2 will be March 5th, I think it is a Sunday, and then Master Reiki will be in April. So you could actually go through the whole training within the next couple of months and decide if you wanted to become a Reiki practitioner. I also have my monthly class with women called Temple of the Divine Feminine, and it is February 18th. It is either in person or via Zoom. We kind of figure that out. And then sometimes people can't come, and so they just join in with Zoom. And that's open to all women. It is a sacred circle. That's the idea, for you to get away from everything you're doing and be with some other beautiful women who are very supportive, very loving. And I don't know, it nurtures our soul in a way that I find is very, very effective, very useful. Big shout out to all my patrons. I'm a listener supported show, and thank you very much. Very quick check in with astrology because I have some wonderful guests, and you're going to really want to listen this morning. Um, your soul will be nourished, is what I'm going to say. But as far as astrology goes, I mentioned before, February is a very forward moving energy because all planets are direct until April 20th. So this is a road opener. It's moving us forward, making things happen. There are no roadblocks. So you get to look at yourself and ask yourself if you've been blocking the road somehow. And with this strong forward moving energy, it's always a good idea to do a lot of self-care because we can get moving forward too rapidly. We also have Sirius, an asteroid in an area of the sky that has been activating the mother woundedness. The mother woundedness. So it means you need nourishing and nurturing. I don't know. We could talk about that a lot. Like, what about our mothers? What about us as mothers? What about the mothering instinct on the planet? When do we need to be held? When do we need to be loved? When do we need to laugh? All of those good things. So we know that life can be challenging. So make sure that you do take care of yourself. And then we had a big full moon in Leo on February 5th, and that is helping to activate our heart chakras. And don't we all just need to lift the heart right now? So our world and ourselves need love. And this was a pretty strong energy worldwide. It shook the world a little bit with those earthquakes in Turkey and Syria and the loss of life. And so this is a great time for us to open our hearts, send out love and healing, and really hold that container for all of us to process what we need to process. And Mercury has left its shadow period as of February 8th or 9th, which is today. And if you've been feeling foggy and lackluster since December, the energies are going to become clearer and easier to move forward. And we're headed towards Venus conjunct Neptune in Pisces on February 15th, right around Valentine's Day, which brings a sweetness and a softness to all that is going on in your life. So use the energy to love deeper, to open your heart wider, and to express your ideas out into the world. It's a beautiful time for romance, creativity, and spiritual practices. So with that, I would like to bring my guests on today. I've got some amazing woman, Kim Rosen and Jami Bieber. And Kim Rosen is a spoken word artist, and Jami Bieber is a composer and a cellist. These two amazing women have been facilitating explorations of the difficult, necessary themes of aging, death, and waking up for many years. And their collaborative offering is called Feast of Losses, Turning Towards Aging, Death, and Letting Go. It is a CD. It's a culmination of their shared love of the realness, rawness, and intimacy that arises when we turn towards all levels of letting go. Wow. So with everything happening in our world today, you women, you couldn't have come here on a better day. How fortuitous, as they say. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Loretta. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it is. I can feel the strength and the softness and the energy. I would like to know a little bit about the two of you. And I don't know who wants to go first, but I think it's a great idea to just lay that little platform of who are you? How did you get to what you're doing? Because that's an interesting pathway, right? Yeah. So who would like to go first? Yeah.
Kim? Was that for you?
I saw that. Kim goes.
That was handing it off to you, but I'm happy to go first. It's interesting in this moment. I feel like I've always known Jami, but I do know that I met her on her birthday in 2001 in person. I've done many things in my life, but one of the main currents is that I have devoted myself both to a spiritual practice of learning poems by heart, as one would a prayer, as one would want to reorganize the synaptic firings within oneself according to what is most important. So for many years, I had been learning poems by heart. And one day when my back was quote unquote out, I was lying on the floor of a friend's house and put on a CD, which is what we played in those days. And this music came on and I said, I need to speak poems to whoever it is behind that music. And I was able to find her. We were able to connect. We had like a 2-hour rehearsal or something. And then we gave a 4-hour performance. It was an explosion in the universe. And poor Jami, it was a bit of an explosion for her because I at that time, I was very new to performing and I didn't know what I was putting the musician through. I'd been learning poems by heart and they were just coming and coming and coming. And I didn't realize what the musicians had to go through. But, so that's how we had. And, I could go on, but I'll let Jami take some from there.
Well, I think, as Kim says, and I remember that performance so well, Kim. My hands and shoulders are still recovering. It's like to get us to where we were in 2001 when we met was many different paths. And for me, it had to do with musical paths, lots of different musical styles. So when Kim invited me in, I have to say I was ignorant towards poetry, really. I mean, I knew and could read some poems, but Kim opened up a world of what poetry can mean in one's life, as well as what can the transformations and the steps that can happen when one really listens and embodies and takes a poem in as practice. And we've been doing it for 21 years, 22 years now, where we have a recording that we put out in 2007 or 2006 called Only Breath. And then we've been doing workshops, and it's just been 22 years of honing this craft of not only our own personal collaboration, but also bringing us to this point where in a feast of losses globally, we could present something that offers some kind of medicine or healing or gift.
And you know, I want to say that for both of us, just to underline what Jami's saying, our I would say the gift we've been given to give is the capacity to create a sanctuary, whether that's a sanctuary in a workshop where we are together, creating music and poetry and silence and profound release processes, or whether it's an album like Feast of Losses that itself creates a sanctuary of music and poetry, which has a capacity. I mean, looking through the eyes of shamanism, we know that when there's a rhythmic entrainment of the brain, the actual cerebrospinal fluid and pulsations within the brain change so that another wave pattern can emerge that dissolves our censorship of our relationship with our deep self. So that's really our purpose, is to create sanctuaries where people can drop into their deep self and drink of that well, especially as Jami says in this time. And I'm so aware of all that has gone on in, you know, the last few days or the last few weeks or the last few months, where we've all been confronted, if we choose to turn towards it, with mortality on global and personal scales. So this is a sanctuary to turn towards it and drink the life-giving ambrosia that comes from direct contact with the self.
You know, I'm thinking while you're talking, like in my world, there's no accidents, there's no mistakes. Everything always comes together in an interesting way at the moment it's supposed to. But I have been doing a lot of talking with my guests about death and grieving, the power of that initiatory phase, going through that. And then also, and you're touching on this and you're speaking directly to it, looking straight at it or looking straight into it or simmering in it in some way. Interestingly enough, when I got up this morning, I get little notifications from people, and Lee Harris, you know, is a channel, and I've spoken with him, and he put out a statement this morning that his guides were talking about how grief is going to be very predominant in our world in the next short period of time, and that having ways to deal with it are going to be very important. And then here we are speaking about that.
There's a beautiful poem on the album that begins, "Everything is beautiful and I am so sad." It's a poem by Mark Nepo, and it's really what I feel holding when we're holding the truth of what it is to be alive right now. Everything.
Yeah.
And I am so sad. This is how the heart makes a duet of wonder and grief.
Yeah, I understand that very well. I would like to play one of your pieces, and it feels appropriate time to pick one of them. Which one would you like?
I would choose the layers.
The layers. All righty. So before we have Benny play the layers, do you have any advice on how we listen?
Thank you. Thank you for asking that question. You know, what we recommend is that people just take a couple deep breaths, find somewhere comfortable, and without distractions, just sit and let the music and poetry enter you.
And also to be aware that our intention, and I personally feel our medicine that we offer is that the music and poetry are equal. Often people expect the music to be in the background and the poetry to be in the foreground. But what I want to say, the reason we hold them as equal and the poetry as if it were an instrument in the composition that Jami has created, the reason we hold it as equal is that undoes the locks of the mind. You can't hold on to the words because of the potency of the music. And you can look the poem up online. It's a beautiful poem called The Layers by Stanley Kunitz, but I want to suggest as you listen, let it move through you and just twang whatever it is in your own personal life that comes up. And don't worry too much about, oh, I got to write down that line. That's the most amazing line I ever heard. You can go find it, or you even buy the album. And so now just let it do its work in you, as if you had taken ayahuasca and were just curious about what was going to come up along the way.
Also, just to say, there is a poem by Langston Hughes towards the end of the piece called Island. And that's also part of the piece.
Wonderful. For those people that are driving or doing things like that, listen as you can. And I really mean it. Remember, you can go back, you can get their CD and listen to it. You can also go back and download this program and listen to it over and over again, which I recommend you do. Yeah. So The Layers.
I have walked through many lives, some of them my own, and I am not who I was. Though some principle of being abides, from which I struggle not to stray. When I look behind, as I am compelled to look before I can gather strength to proceed on my journey, I see the milestones dwindling toward the horizon and the slow fires trailing from the abandoned campsites over which scavenger angels wheel on heavy wings. Oh, I have made myself a tribe out of my true affections, and my tribe is scattered. How shall the heart be reconciled to its feast of losses? In a rising wind, the manic dust of my friends, those who fell along the way, bitterly stings my face. Yet I turn exulting somewhat, with my will intact to go wherever I need to go. And every stone on the road precious to me. In my my darkest night, when the moon was covered and I roamed through wreckage, a nimbus-clouded voice directed me. Live in the layers, not on the litter. Though I lack the art to decipher it, no doubt the next chapter in my book of transformations is already written. I am not done with my changes. Wave of sorrow, do not drown me now. I see the island, still ahead somehow. I see the island, and its sands are fair. Wave of sorrow, take me there. I have walked through many lives, some of them my own, and I am not who I was. Though some principle of being abides, from which I struggle not to stray. When I look behind, as I am compelled to look before I can gather strength to proceed on my journey, I see the milestones dwindling toward the horizon, and the slow fires trailing from the abandoned campsites over which scavenger angels wheel on heavy wings. Oh, I have made myself a tribe out of my true affections, and my tribe is scattered. How shall the heart be reconciled to its feast of losses? In a rising wind, the manic dust of my friends, those who fell along the way, bitterly stings my face, yet I turn, exulting somewhat with my will intact to go wherever I need to go. And every stone on the road, precious to me. In my darkest night, when the moon was covered and I roamed through wreckage, a nimbus-clouded voice directed me. Live in the layers, not on the litter. Though I lack the art to decipher it, no doubt the next chapter in my book of transformation is already written. I am not done with my changes. Wave of sorrow, do not drown me now. I see the island, still ahead somehow. I see the island, and its sands are fair. Wave of sorrow, take me there.
Beautiful. It's immersive, and I almost hate to say anything, right? Benny, why don't we take a little station break? And when we come back, we will talk more about Feast of Losses with Jami Bieber and Kim Rosen. And this is Loretta Brown. If you just listened to that wonderful, wonderful immersive offering, give yourself a moment. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the original Loretta Brown Show with my amazing guests, Jami Bieber and Kim Rosen. We're talking about their Feast of Losses, Communion of Grief and Communion of Grief and Gratitude, their CD. And I want to remind people that these shows are archived, and you can go listen to them anytime you want. You can go to KKNW 1150 AM archives for the original Loretta Brown show. And of course, we're on iTunes, Podcast One, Spotify, Twitter. Benny, I always leave stuff out.
Well, we have the new platform Megaphone.
Megaphone,
Yeah, and
that's
that
right.
launches over to Spotify. So it's a
It goes to
good one for
Spotify,
y'all.
Yeah. Somebody said they found the show on Audible. So
Okay, great.
I know, who knew? So please go and listen to them. Many, many wonderful shows from amazing people.
Yeah, the more the merrier.
Yeah, the more the merrier. That's right. And we just, before the break, we listened to an amazing piece called The Layers. And I want to ask the ladies a question that I asked during the break. Many people take poetry and they sing it or do something else with it. Why the spoken word with music?
Well, I would like to, I'd actually like to take a few of our listeners in this moment and poll them about what is the difference for them. But on a very basic poetry 101 level, the poet Amiri Baraka once said, "Poetry is words musicked." Like, why would you put a poem to music when it has the music inside it? And for me, that means something that I talk about. I wrote a book called Saved by a Poem. And one of the things I talk about is the shamanic anatomy of a poem, which is the part of a poem that we may not get in meaning, but it's happening inside our body. There's a rhythm, there's a resonance between different words, there's a song happening in the spoken poem. And it's not that you lose that song when you put, I think it's amazing to put a poem with permission, of course, from the poet,
Yeah.
music. But for me, the words go in more deeply and more reverently when they're spoken. With music, there's more of I feel when they're put into music, there's more of a diffuse listening to the poem as music. And if the words are spoken somehow, to me, they go more directly to the heart. Also, I can't sing that well. And that's probably the main reason.
I'm sorry, but I love that so much because I totally get that, right? And also, there's something about, I always think about cadence and tempo and pitch, and like you say, the pauses are very important. And then, Jami, you have written the music that goes along with this, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And of course, there's all kinds of other instruments in there. I don't think you can play cello and guitar and flute and all at the same time.
No, and in fact, I'll give a shout out to Nancy Rumble, who's a Northwest artist who lives in Issaquah and is the oboe and English horn player on the album. Yeah.
So I want to ask you, so Jami, where do you begin when you are composing the music for this beautiful poetry?
Well, Kim and I have the way that we work together when we have the time and when we are focusing on our album, and it's served this album really well, is we go away for 3 to 5 days and we just immerse ourselves in the intention of doing the album. And it's all improv. It's all like a blank slate that we come to the morning with. And I just start playing cello. I brought my recording gear with me so that whatever was played could be caught. But it was, it's very organic. And that's one of the things I've loved about our working relationship. It's very organic. And there is, I don't go home and try to like compose, in response to the words. I'm playing in the moment as to what is arising from me, which then sometimes inspires Kim to choose a poem that may have been a different poem than what she was intending, but then, and then I may choose to go somewhere else given what she's spoken. So it's this ebb and flow,
Yeah.
and that's just luscious to be in. And so yeah, composing the music is a little bit of a stretch, but it's just sort of living into the music, and then that's when, as you know, as a musician, that's when the real work then starts, when you improvise something and then you have to go back and craft it and hone it. And then we go into the studio and make sure the words are heard, and, you know, and kind of do that dance of when the poem enters, when the music rises. And it was wonderful.
Yeah, and it's not, it's there to give a shout out to our engineer, Evan Schiller. I think people who have not been in recording studios have no idea how much the engineer is doing, but to those spoken word be heard it's a magical, alchemical, and very scientific process of honing it that he's gifted at.
I know firsthand.
Yeah,
Oh, I was just going to say, and here comes Benny.
I was going to give a shout out to Benny right there.
Boop, boop for the engineers.
Yay to the engineers.
Boy, that is for sure. I have a musical ear. I'm very sensitive to how the voice and the music, there's a conversation going on. It's talking. And to me, everything is sound. Everything is a frequency and a vibration. And I also am just going to say this from my own perspective, that this works very well, because it does help us access beyond language, and the sound of the words is important, right? We know there's power in the sound. So I'm just like, I think words are kind of, you know, beyond it, but that's going to be what I say. It really works, takes us deeper. We're able to go in. Yeah.
And just say, when Jami says, well, composing is a strong word, I just want to say it's not a strong word. Something is composing in those moments.
Mm-hmm.
Just as something is choosing the poems, it's not my ordinary day-to-day wash the dishes, clean the kitty litter mind that's choosing the poems. I'm steeping in Jami's music, and the poems are arising just as the music is arising in the steepage of the poems. You use the word simmering, Loretta, and you know, in the simmering of the poems, but there is something mysterious that maybe we can't name, but has something to do with us, that's doing the composing and using.
So I would like to play another one of your pieces, When Death Comes. And I think this is very appropriate for everything going on. And any comments about how to listen to this piece?
Well, I'd just like to say this is a poem by Mary Oliver, a very well-loved poet by many of us. Even those of us who don't love poetry have probably come across her poems. And I remember she said once in a reading that this was actually her most popular poem. This is the poem that's asked for most from her, which gave me it heartened me about the state of humanity, you know, that people really do somewhere in their being want to turn towards death. And so that's all I'll say about it beyond what we've already said.
Alrighty. When Death Comes.
When death comes,
like the hungry bear in autumn. When death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me, and snaps the purse shut. When death comes like the measles pox. When death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades. I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like? That cottage of darkness. And therefore I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood. And I look upon time as no more than an idea, and I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular. And each name a comfortable music in the mouth, ending as all music does, towards silence. And each body a lion of courage, and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say all my life I was a bride, married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world.
Beautiful.
Hmm.
Yes. I always feel like there's a breathing into it, a sitting with it. Mhm. So you do gatherings with people, workshops with people in person?
We do. We're doing one in Mexico in the end of April. Yeah,
And it's called Beyond Words.
which you mentioned before this.
Yes, which you mentioned.
Yes.
But also, I'd like to mention that one of the beautiful things that's risen out of putting this CD out is that people are creating these deep listening parties or gatherings where they gather some of their closest, dearest, beloved friends or family and just listen without distractions to the CD, and then go into conversation afterwards, slowly and gently, and talk about what rises and what comes up from the poems or how it affected them. And it's just been a beautiful experience to hear people come back to us and say what these gatherings have meant, to enter into deep conversation around loss, around aging, around death, which we're all ripe to talk about right now,
Yeah.
if we turn toward it.
Yes. Where can people find your information? Because I would like to get to There's a Girl Inside before we run out of time this morning. Mhm.
Perfect. The CD is sold on my website, jamibieber.com. Also, if you go to kimrosen.com, she will have a link there to the
If you go to kimrosen.com, you'll find an illustration.
.net. Sorry, .net. kimrosen.net. We are not streaming the CD at this point, but we may move into that soon. But people can purchase the CD digitally or in hard CD form from my website.
And so, Betty, let's go ahead and listen to There's a Girl Inside. And once again, I'm talking to Jami Bieber and Kim Rosen.
And this is a poem by Lucille Clifton.
By Lucille Clifton. Great.
There is a girl inside. She is randy as a wolf. She will not walk away and leave these bones to an old woman. She is a green tree in a forest of kindling. She is a green girl in a used poet. She has waited, patient as a nun, for the second coming, when she can break through gray hairs into blossom, and her lovers will harvest honey and thyme, and the woods will be wild with the damn wonder of it. There is a girl inside. She is randy as a wolf. She will not walk away and leave these bones to an old woman. She is a green tree in a forest of kindling. She is a green girl in a used poet. She has waited, patient as a nun, for the second coming, when she can break through gray hairs into blossom, and her lovers will harvest honey and thyme, and the woods will be wild with the damn wonder of it.
I am metamorphized.
Early in the morning. I should play that every morning.
I love that. It's so good. Yeah, so Feast of Losses. I don't know, we have a minute or so left, just maybe two. When people come and they do this work with you, right? When you do this in person with people, can you share with us a little bit what that is like, or how it has transformed people or transformed you?
People come, whether or not consciously, they come when they're at a turning point in their inner lives, sometimes in their outer lives too. And we create a series of practices, a series of processes through which people go very deeply into themselves. They heal past trauma, and they open into dimensions of their consciousness that they were not aware of their vastness, of their spirit. We've had the good fortune to do it in some very, very beautiful places that really collaborate with us in creating an environment that's built on the medicine of beauty, the beauty of the poems, the beauty of the place, the beauty of the music. And as you may have sensed in these little dives into the music and poetry, there is an alchemical medicine that happens in that immersion. And we write, we move. I won't say dance. Some of us still dance, but some of us sit on a chair and move. We rattle whatever is holding us in closed patterns of suffering. We rattle them open, and we are there to hold whatever comes out.
I love that. Rattle them open. Well, yes. So we've come to the end of our time. My goodness, it went by really, really fast. And my guests today, Jami Bieber and Kim Rosen, Feast of Losses. It is a CD. Please find them, get it, go to their workshops.
It's also a download for those of you who don't have a CD player anymore.
Yeah. Any last words very quickly for the audience?
Well, thank you, Loretta and Benny. But also, just as Kim mentioned, this workshop at Haramara in Mexico in the end of April, there is 1 or 2 spots left. So feel free to contact either one of us about that. And it's been a pleasure being with you today.
Thank you so much for your deep listening, both of you.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. And everybody out there, blessings, love, goodness. Thanks, Benny.
Bye-bye.